Can you handle the truth? I'ma lay it on you. So, hello everybody. This is Luis coming at you with a new project titled Can You Handle the Truth? And this will be a new series kind of focusing on the past songs that I've done and kind of doing an analysis or an in-depth analysis on the lyrics. You know, what do they actually mean as interpreted by the creator himself, the composer, the writer, and it'll just be kind of getting an in-depth look and an explanation and a story behind each original song that I've done on this channel. And of course, there'll be some other stuff along the way, but for now, we're gonna keep it just to talk about, to analyze and talk about just my own lyrics, my own music. I just keep it, nice and about the music and about the lyrics. So the song that I decided to talk about for this episode, for this first episode, is one of my originals, that I did a couple months back on this channel, titled "Water Decides." Now, "Water Decides" is actually definitely one of the and got a bunch of large machine vehicles going everywhere. Anyway, "Water Decides" is one of the it's one of the most abnormally, amazingly secretive hidden meanings that you could, like a song that has so much of that, because it is not what it appears to be. It's not what it looks like. It's not even what it sounds like. Depending if you understand what I'm going for, what I was going for in that particular song. But all in all, once you find out what it's really about, you're gonna think twice and question the song itself. It's not gonna have the same exact feeling as it once. So if you don't want to get your world crumbled down, if you enjoyed that song and you thought it was a nice, happy song, I suggest you pause this or just get out of this video, because what I'm about to tell you will completely and utterly destroy your world when it comes to that song. So I'll give you 2 seconds to just turn away after I'm done speaking. Okay, well, you decided to stay here, and so I will take that as a consent to move on. So with "Water Decides," let's break it down. Break it down verse by verse if we have to, sentence by sentence. But the first verse says, "Running down the river, a self-loathing man. It ain't getting any clearer, and I can barely stand." The first particular sentence of that verse, "running down the river," that's quite literal. This is the image that I was getting when I was creating the lyrics for this song, and it was that of a man running down the river or going near the river. A self-loathing man. It didn't like where he was. Was very self-loathing. Pretty self-explanatory. A self-loathing man. He didn't like himself. He found a lot of problems with himself, and he couldn't justify his own actions to himself. Self-loathing man. It ain't getting any clearer. He's not understanding why. Everything's becoming harder. Everything's hazier. He's letting the emotion get to him, and he's not thinking clearly. And a lot of things, his mind is just a haze. And I can barely stand. Kind of goes within. He's kind of losing his sense, his awareness. He's losing his rationality. He's kind of losing himself. He's not thinking clearly about it. He's not being rational, as I mentioned. He's losing his rationality. He's kind of losing that focus that makes him into himself. He's becoming something else. He's losing his way, losing touch with who he is. I forget my words silently, or I forgot my words silently. which basically, he's just the person of who he is, or his identity is kind of just vanishing. It's vanishing away, silently, silently. It's very quietly. It's a silent type of. It's a silent type of. It's a silent, gradual forgetfulness or dissipation. A silent, gradual dissipation from being yourself, or from this man in this story becoming something else, something that's him but not him at the same time. Next verse. I walk closer to the water, thoughtless in my head. She's calling out, go get her, and this man listens. Drowning now I see, sirens sing. Okay, so beginning of that. I walk closer to the water. Very literal. This particular sentence is meant to be taken very literal. Just imagining the guy. At first he was running down the river. Going towards that area. He's walking closer to the water. So he's going. And thoughtless in his head. He's not thinking clearly. He's not thinking anymore. It seems like something else has just taken over him. He's not the man he used to be anymore. She's calling out, go get her. And this one is it's literal in a sense, but it's also metaphorical. But in the image, it's only literal because of how I imagined it. Because in that image, I saw the guy, I saw the man walk closer to the water, and he's just not thinking. He's just kind of empty. And then he hears this voice of this kind of like, I know it's going to sound a little bit funny, but it's kind of like a water spirit, or an entity made out of water that looks like a woman. She's calling out to this guy, come over here, come, go get me, come over here. It's almost like she's inviting him to, she's being his salvation in a sense. Like that is his salvation, that is his way of kind of being comforted, but not from him. It's kind of a grander concept that I'll reveal towards in the end. I'll get back to this, but in the end, because if I were to tell you this now, it kind of destroy the ending here. So she's calling out, go get her. Again, this entity, or this water spirit, female water spirit looking entity, is calling out to him. This man listens, so he listens. He's finding some sort of comfort, some sort of tranquility within that calling from her. So he goes to the water. Drowning now I see. So now that this guy's in the water, he's drowning. I mean, he's deep in the water. He's deep in the water, but he's drowning. Sirens sing. So this is, kind of goes towards the entity where it's like he's hearing these beautiful sirens. And if you know some things about cryptics or folklore, mythologies, sirens, they're mermaids basically, but they lure people over, especially men, with beautiful voices that hypnotize. They captivate the man so much that he's under a spell, and they don't think anymore. They're not clear on their thoughts. They're not rational. They kind of just lose themselves in that, because that kind of spell provides comfort, provides tranquility for the man. So siren sing, is like he's drowning. And in this, typically you would imagine that, if there are sirens involved, they'd be dragging him down, but while singing to him. But no, this isn't the case. In fact, this guy just drowns on his own. Again, I'll reveal it a little bit later as to a little bit more detail. But he's drowning, and not because of the sirens, and he's hearing the sirens sing. So he's hearing the voices, very beautiful singing voices. So now we're getting to the chorus. And the chorus is: ocean tide escapes, breath I hold decays, soul retires today, gone far away. And analyzing the chorus or in explaining to you how I see the chorus and the meaning behind it and what I intended for it. Ocean tide escapes. It's basically the waves moving out, kind of like how you can't always, like, let's say you're in the water, and let's say you do a cannonball in the water, and it creates ripples in the water, and eventually those ripples can become into like little waves or tides in a sense. And then when you think about the beach, in this particular scenario where you got a bunch of tides coming in and out, little waves coming in and out. Ocean tide escapes is basically our ability to not be able to capture everything, our ability to not, it's all, in all its ways, ocean tide escapes. It means there's always going to be something we'll never get. There's always going to be something that's moving faster or ahead of us that we won't be able to get. Breath I hold decays. It's just, this one's more literal, just running out of breath. It's kind of a lot of these phrases and verses and choruses. These lines, these lyrical lines. It goes back and forward between the literal image that I had in my head, like the actual story I had playing in my head, and kind of little metaphors or analogies or similes that I try to do within the music to try to be more descriptive without talking about the how to say this. It's like the story. It fades from being about the actual image that I saw in my head, the story in my head, to about the story about the guy. So it's not just, it goes from overall picture to a specific in that overall picture, and that's kind of what's the theme within all of these, the whole song, and the lyrics themselves, the whole song, the lyrical aspects of the song. So breath I hold decays means he's running out of breath because he's underwater, he's drowning. Soul retires today, pretty self-explanatory. He knows he's gone. He knows he's gonna die. That's the secret. He's gonna die. Gone far away. Again, self-explanatory. Going far away. Next verse. I think this is verse 3 now. Bubbles flying higher to the blue moving sky. The million things I admire as I start to flatline. Peace all around me. Serenity, serenity. So bubbles flying higher means he's sinking to the bottom, and he's looking up, and he's just seeing all of his air bubbles float to the top. The blue to the blue moving sky, and this is something that was almost, it was very mystical and magical when I was writing this, when I saw this the image in my head that made me write this line: bubbles flying higher to the blue moving sky, the million things I admire as I start to flatline. Because I was, in all true sense of the word, I became this person. Like I was, the imagination was so vivid and the image was so vivid that I could feel feel exactly what this guy is going through. I could see it because I closed my eyes for visualization to get a clearer picture, and I got it. And boy, did I get it. I saw everything. I saw myself going down, and the air coming out of me, trying to hold on, and the bubbles going up. And as I look up, and this is something that's a theme in just whenever I go swimming, or just in my life in general, and how I see water and being underwater, because I love being underwater. I always love looking to the top when you're underwater, because you can see the surface, and it's so blue. It's almost like another world. It's almost like that's the sky. Like you just reach up and you can touch the sky. So bubbles flying higher, going up, to the blue moving sky. It's the sky above that moves. It's the surface of the water. But from the perspective of being underwater and kind of far down and looking up, it looks exactly like the sky. It looks beautiful. It's very blue, very it still moves. It just has a bit more texture and life to it. The million things I admire, just thinking about a lot of things. Now things are going through his head, but the things that he loves, because it's not like he's overthinking anything. In fact, his mind is extremely clear at this point. He's just, all he's doing is, you know, kind of like, as I mentioned, my admiration for the water kind of fell into this. But you know, as he's looking at the blue moving sky or at the surface of the water, you know, he's just thinking about more ways to admire it, how it's so beautiful. And as I start the flat line, self-explanatory, you know, he's dying, he's dying. Peace all around me, serenity, serenity. He's finding his peace with this beauty he's surrounded by, with the beauty that he perceives that's in front of him. You know, and that's something that's I believe it was very poetic, even though I didn't exactly intend to be poetic in this. That's just how the song came out. You know, I just had an image and I just went along with it and saw, you know, kept going until I finished, and you know, this is where it got me. It got me writing a whole dang song. And then it goes to the chorus. We already explained that. Then the final verse. Blue is getting darker, descending to the ground. Beauty is my partner. No ring, not a sound. My next long journey, finally. So, in this final verse, blue is getting darker, which means this guy is basically like, you know, imagine it's a very deep river, because I mentioned it was a river, and then, you know, in the chorus I mentioned ocean tides, but in truth this is a river, but it's just a very huge river. So he's just going deeper and deeper. He's getting so deep to the point where it's like, it's not, the water's not really blue anymore. It's just becoming dark and it's becoming black. So it's a very deep place. He's going down. This descending to the ground again falls with the lower pits of a large body of water. Beauty is my partner. No ring, not a sound. So beauty is my partner, which means at this point he's dying, he's drowning, but while he's still alive, regardless of how excruciatingly painful all of this might be, because I didn't get the sense that it was painful for him to be dying in any sense, so I didn't put that in there. But all this guy is seeing as he's dying is just nothing but beautiful things. Nothing but beautiful things. His mind, as I mentioned earlier, his mind is very clear. That's all he sees. Beautiful, beautiful things. No ring, not a sound. You know, there's no sounds around. There's no phones ringing. There's no distractions. No ring, not a sound. I mean, there's no sound anymore. Everything's kind of becoming quiet. It's very peaceful. My next long journey, finally, means he's dying. He's dead. You know, he's gonna die. He's gonna move on to some other journey, some other life. Whether it be here in this world or another world, you know, who knows? But he knows that his time here is over. He's moving on, and that's basically the whole story behind the song. And in case you missed it, now that it's the end, and now that you've gone through all of the explanations, then ice cream truck, I swear. Quick little tangent. I don't know if you've all noticed this, but it seems like every single time I make a video of any sort, the ice cream truck is always there, disturbing my videos. I'm not kidding. Like, I make videos randomly throughout the day, in random days. Almost every single time, the ice cream truck always disturbs. I'm just putting that out there in case you've noticed that in some of my podcasts. You know, it's definitely not going to be in the music, definitely not. But in the podcasts, they come out, or in other videos they're not music related, they come out. And you know, now in this one, I guess it's the rite of passage for all my videos. The ice cream man has to come around with all of his sounds and whatnot, the introductions. It's a rite of passage to be on my channel, I guess. But anyway, so in case, going back to Water Decides and getting to the truth of it and getting the in-depth analysis of it, and you know, talking to you about what I saw and what I thought, all in all, and this is a big summary of everything I just mentioned. This song is about suicide. It's about this guy dying. He's taking his life, but it's in a very poetic way, in a very beautiful way. Even though all the things he's seeing are real to him, at the end of the day, this song is not, it might sound happy because it does sound kind of happy and cheerful, kind of energetic, but if you don't, like, if I didn't tell you what all these things really meant, you couldn't get the full picture. And I noticed that because when I showed this song to a couple of friends of mine that I asked their opinion on it and what they thought about. They thought it was a very happy song. It was just a lot of poetry, and I told them, "Is that really what you think?" And then I told him, "Do you want to know what it's really about?" I only told one of them what it really was about, and he's like, "So it's not a happy tune?" And I told him, "No, it's not. You'd be surprised." And he's like, "Okay, what is it?" And I told him, "It's about a guy committing suicide." And I'll be honest, that wasn't my intention, and not even the least. I had no intention of doing it, putting having the story play out like that. That's just how it came out. I just wrote as I saw along. I just wrote and interpreted what I was seeing, what I was feeling, and I just did that, and I wrote it down on well, technically swiped it on my phone. It's easier for me to just use my phone to write lyrics, but yeah, I was just going along with what the images and the story that I was getting, and in my head, and it turned out to be about a suicide. And I'll tell you a funny little thing. When I finished um, writing down the lyrics or swiping the lyrics, this is my phone, and I just had to, I put the lyrics in there and everything. And when I finished, getting down all the lyrics, and when I thought, okay, I'm done now, I usually review and read all of my lyrics just fully through. It could be, at least twice, but, this was my first run through of going through the lyrics, and I'm reading it, and when I get to the end, I'm like, holy damn, this is about suicide. And that was my reaction. I was like, this is about suicide. What's going on? Like, I was writing it down, so you'd think I'd know right away, but I had no idea until I reread it. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. No. I must have read something wrong. So I read it again a second time, and lo and behold, it was about suicide, a man committing suicide. So I literally wrote a song about a very beautiful way of saying, of explaining the details of how a man is dying and how he killed himself. So, am I demented? I don't know. I don't think so. I've learned many things in this world, and one of the things I have learned, especially when it comes to creative people, or people who have creative activities, is just because something sounds a little bit off or is not what we interpret as being a good thing. And in this case, suicide. Suicide is not a good thing. It never is. But there's beauty behind it in how it's interpreted, and there can be beauty in anything negative. There really can. It's always said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, that much is true. What some people might find repulsive or repugnant, others might find astounding and amazing and gorgeous, very visceral, very surreal. But yeah, so that's the whole of Water Decides. It's basically about suicide. Yeah, that's a big crasher, right? So you never, and I promise you this, you'll never hear this song again, the same again, if you manage to go back a couple of videos down in my channel and find the song Water Decides. But and this, honestly, when I figured this out, I thought to myself, and when I finished performing the song and recording it, I thought to myself, the concept, not the concept of suicide itself, but the concept of beauty inside something dark, and kind of like the music sounding like having the opposite sound of what the lyrics describe. It reminded me of another song. It reminded me of Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People or Foster the Children. I don't remember the exact band, but it's Foster something, and the song is Pumped Up Kicks, where it's kind of like sounds like a nice chill groove of a song, and it kind of sounds a little bit in the happy-ish, but it's about murder, a mass killing spree. So, I don't know. I just thought to myself, did I maybe subconsciously do it because I knew of that song and it just happened to cross in my head? I don't know. I don't think so, because I hadn't even thought about that song at that time when I wrote these lyrics whatsoever. It had been years since I last heard the song. But, it's funny how a lot of our creations, a lot of things we creative people, artists in our own sense of words, what we create can be related to something someone else has done, even if though it's not exactly the same, it's still related, but it's so very different at the same time. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to do, and I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Water Decides, and I hope you enjoyed this new series that I'm coming out with, called Can You Handle the Truth? And if you support this, leave a comment down below if you have a particular song of mine that you'd like me to talk about, and I'll even talk about the covers that I've done, why I decided to do that specific song, cover that specific song by a particular artist and whatnot. If it's on my channel, you can ask me about it. This is what this particular series is. That's what it's for. It's about giving you my thoughts and, my not all of it, but at least not when it comes to the songwriting. I'm not going to give you all of my secrets to how I do that, but if I'll give you a general idea of what I was thinking about when I decided to do whatever it is the topic for it, or whatever is the chosen topic for it, whether it be covering one of my own songs, or a cover that I've done, or even other podcasts, or anything. That's what this series is for. Can You Handle the Truth? It's for the sole purpose of giving you an in-depth look into who I am, and kind of my thoughts behind it. So, and that's just what it is. And if you have any thoughts on what you want me to do or to cover, leave a comment down below, and I'll get to it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell icon to get updated with my most recent videos whenever they're uploaded. And that being that, just continue being awesome, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good one. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.